Hey there, Nikki here. And in this video, I'm just going to show you a few different exercises and strategies that you can try for happier knees. If you ever feel like your knees kind of feel a little wobbly or unstable, or they get a little cranky, just here's some simple exercises that you can do. So I'm going to show you an array of exercises with a few different props. A yoga block or a roller can be used for a couple of them. You'll want a band for some of the others. And then I'll also show you something that can be done with like a glider or a towel. So just know there's kind of a number of props in this. It's a little bit of a smorgasbord video, but I'll just give you some ideas. And before you go into kind of exercises that help with knee alignment and knee strength, it can also sometimes be helpful to kind of foam roll the attachment sites all around the leg. So by that I mean like the front of the leg, a little bit on the outside, just above the knee, and a little bit on the inside. So just know that that can be some nice prep work before you do strength and stability work, assuming it doesn't make your knee feel more unstable. If you know release work doesn't feel good, then you might want to skip that. Yeah. Okay. So let's just kind of jump into it. So with the knee, it's what I often fondly call a dumb joint, in that it's very much dictated by the foot and by the hip. But that being said, there are muscles around the knee, it's like any other, that if you strengthen them, it can usually make the knee feel more stable. One of the primary ones is this little guy just to the inside of the leg, just above the knee, that's called your VMO, or your vastus medialis oblique. It is terminal knee extension, or the last three degrees, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I'm not an anatomy person. But basically, when that engages, it helps track your knee in better alignment. That's really the only thing you need to know. I don't know why I use those fancy words. So one of the things that you can do for that is if you have a block or something to sit on, you can come to seated, and you can do this also in a chair if this is a little too advanced. This is actually pretty tricky. And the first thing I'll sometimes do is just take one leg out in front of me, flex the foot, and it can be as simple as just stretching the leg and looking down and going, okay, can I get that little guy to turn on, and then letting it go. Now, I do some fancy stuff with Pilates equipment for this, but for you at home, this can be enough to just start to go like, all right, does it engage? Because like if I look, there should be like a little bundle or something engaging there. That could be step one of this exercise. Step two, you can have this leg bent for support. This will make it a little bit easier. Or if you feel mildly masochistic, you can have both legs out straight. If you have both legs out straight, though, just make sure that you don't slam your knees down to the ground, hyperextension. So the supporting leg is strong but not locked. Your hands can push down for a little bit of help. You can reach through your heel, stretch your leg long, and then all you're going to do is lift it up and touch it down. And now as I do this, I am trying not to roll my thigh in or out. I'm trying to keep my leg all in one straight line. I'm also trying not to lean backwards. And depending on where you're strong or not so strong, you might feel a little bit of engagement up the front of your leg. You might also feel a wicked hip flexor cramp. That can happen too. Now, once I get really good at this, I could also tap it up and over and then bring it back down. Yeah, a little bit of extra fun. And then, of course, after you've done that a few times, you can do the other side. So you can reach the leg long, lift and lower. Or you can take it up and tap. This is where you discover what your more talented side is, and touch and tap and touch. So that's just one thing that you can do to kind of get front of the leg to engage to help stabilize the knee. The other thing to keep in mind with knee stuff is that it's a combination of your knee gets tracked because of the strength of your relative outer hip and inner thigh, and both sides affect that. So targeting those areas locally, starting small, and then globally, aka bigger standing work, can be really helpful. So a way to do that is you could lie on your back. You can grab your block or ball or roller or whatever you have around, put it between your knees. Find a place where your hips and your pubic bone are in roughly the same line, aka neutral. Feet push into the ground, gently squeeze the block, and then pushing through your arms and feet, you can start to lift your hips up. And now if you keep that connection on the block, you should start to feel like you have inner thighs. And what I like about this one is now my inner thighs have to communicate with the back of my legs and my outer hips and all that fun stuff. Now, different things that you could do at the top. So you could, of course, just bridge up and down, gently squeezing the block. That alone is good work. But if you want to add on, you could add little pulses where you squeeze and release for up to 10, yeah, and come down. And then if you're like, yeah, no, that's a piece of cake, I got that. Then, again, keeping your hips pretty level, so you're not super archy and you're not super tucked, just something in the middle. You can gently squeeze, lift, and now without shifting your pelvis, you can start to march the feet. You can take one leg a little off. I'm now trying to hold my hips still, bring it down, and then take the other leg a little bit off. And again, I'm trying to minimize how much my hips go. So I'm not shifting a bunch. I'm really keeping my little squeeze on the block. And for me, I don't even just feel inner thigh. I actually feel a lot of the back of my leg. As many as you like. And then coming down, and you could do anywhere from like 1 to 3 sets of those. So that's one way to get the inner thighs engaged. The other thing to keep in mind here is being able to control the knee as the leg goes out and in. So something that I like to do, there's 2 things. I like to actually stretch the hamstring or open the hamstring, because a lot of the time that can make knees feel a little bit happier. And then I like to teach my body how to like control that movement. So a couple ways you can do that. If you have a band of any sort, you can put around your foot. You can take your other leg out long. If you are in what I fondly call the tight hamstring club, you may need to put a little something underneath your pelvis, like the yoga brick, or bend that leg that's on the ground. But if you're doing all right, you'll flex your foot, and then you'll just start to play with lowering the leg down, and then taking it up with control, keeping the hips level, so I'm not rocking, and keeping the knee straight. So this can be a really nice one to open the hamstring and learn to control the leg. And then you could also play with coming about halfway down, bending the knee in, and then pushing it out. And as you push it out, you're going to get that leg all the way straight, but you're not going to snap the knee to the floor. You're going to think about reaching through the heel and again, engaging a little bit of that inside of the leg, that VMO that we kind of briefly talked about, bending in and stretching out. So just learning to control that range of motion. And so from here, we'll take into some standing work. All right, so coming into standing, I've grabbed a couple new toys for this second half of this video. So I've got some gliders. Sometimes they're called furniture sliders. They're also the fancy, nice ones are Val slides. These are the really cheap ones. They're like $10 on Amazon. And then also I've grabbed a couple free weights. Any form of resistance would be good there to hold on to if you wish. And then I have another resistance band. You do not need a super expensive Pilates chair for this. This is just what I use to affix the band to demo this exercise. So again, quick note on the knee health. So I talked a little bit about locally with the knee. I'm going to show you one more exercise specifically for the VMO and standing called terminal knee extension. And then also what I want to talk about is how the relationship between your hip and your inner thighs here will affect if your knees like to go out or if they like to go in. So standing strength work can be really beneficial for that. But essentially when it comes to knee health is once you've done all the little micro stuff, it's just really good to do global standing stuff as long as there's no pain. Again, if you've got a lot of pain, go to a doctor. To kind of just strengthen the connections around your hips and your feet so your knees are supported when you move. Yeah. So let's start with this terminal knee extension idea. And so you can do one leg at a time. I'm going to be lazy because I'm going to show you how to make this global in just a minute. But you're going to basically find something to affix a band to. And then you're going to bring the band around one or both knees. And then the first thing you do is stagger a leg back. And here's the really mini version. So I'm working on this back leg. I'm going to find my nice, easy upright posture. I'm going to check that I'm not super arched, not super tucked, just somewhere in the middle. My feet are pretty parallel and they're not rocking in or out too much. I just want them to kind of be nice and neutral on the ground. And all I'm going to play with here is just stretching my knee back and then letting it bend. And then pushing it back and then letting it bend. And as I do that again, I'm not going to look at my knee because this changes my alignment. But what I'm trying, if I'm actually practicing, what I'm trying to do is there should be like this little something on the inside of my leg, just above my knee that engages. And that's the last 3 degrees of knee extensions that you're trying to teach it to control. And then of course you would do that on the other side. Yeah. Now, once you've done that, if you're really good at that, actually what I'm noticing is I do this on my left. My left is not so strong as my right. So you might also find your 2 sides are quite different. You can actually integrate this into a squat. So you can keep the bands where they're at, and then you can actually sit down. I don't care what you do with your arms, by the way. And then stand up. And as you stand up, push your legs back and hey, look, you're in terminal knee extension. And then sitting down, I also like the band because it helps control knee hyperextension, pushing back, and you got to use your muscles a little bit more. You could also do this holding on to, say, I'm not going to grab it, but one of your dumbbells. So you could turn this into more of like a goblet squat. The band will roll around usually. That's pretty normal, right? So you could add resistance, but the idea is that you pop the band just above the knees, sitting down and up. Teaches you how to kind of use control through the front of that leg, and also stops your lower leg from shooting through the front door, or shooting all the way back is actually what I should say. Okay, so that's one of the things you can do. Another one, now this one's more advanced. So if you have an active knee thing, this might not be your move yet, but if you get it all taken care of, well, like let's say you're a physical therapist and everything feels good, this can be a great exercise to strengthen your inner thighs, which again can promote happier knees because that helps stabilize that movement or control it. So you'll stand on your gliders. I don't care what your hands do. They could be on your hips if you like. And then you're going to push them out and then pull it in. And what you'll start to discover as you do this is if your two sides behave differently, which mine certainly do. Now, as I'm doing this, I am trying to be really mindful that I'm not in a big back arch and I'm not collapsed forward. So I'm still trying to find my easy upright position. My knees are strong but not locked, and I'm pushing them out and then pulling it together. Come on, left leg, to bring it in. So, if you do like 8 or 10 of those, you will certainly feel something. If you don't have gliders, you could do it standing on a towel. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is just a little bit of global strength work here. So I like single leg and staggered leg work because it forces the two sides of your hips to communicate, and each leg gets to be its own thing, which again means each knee gets its own chance to kind of shine with all those muscles. So this is sort of a prep for a single leg deadlift. So you'd kind of pretty pony the back leg. It'll be staggered. You can hold some dumbbells or not, depending on where you are in your fitness. And you're just going to, and I'll show you from the side too, come down, hinging your butt back, the knees will bend, and then you'll exhale to stand up. And then again, you'll come down and then push through your feet to stand up, activating the back of that front leg. Yeah, here it is from the side. So pretty pony the foot, staying nice and tall, coming down to stand up. And one more time. So I'm sticking my butt back. I'm letting my knees bend. I'm not curled. I'm in my nice lengthened position, standing up. So those are just a few different exercises that you can do to promote more balance and strength around the hips and therefore more alignment in the knees. I showed you some small stuff. I showed you some big stuff. If you give it a shot, let me know how it goes in the comments. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.